I'm not.
Father, we come this morning to thank you, Father, for all the strength and help that you use. Father, we ask that you would touch this country as it goes through several different situations, as we go through all of this turmoil, and so Father, we ask that you would go with us this morning. Touch each and every one of us, that we might bring something that will change someone, that will help someone, that will keep someone's hope alive. It's in the name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Church for Real, the Rowlett Friendship Baptist Church podcast. And I'm Eric Edison, your host, and on my right would be the Reverend Anton Smith.
Good morning.
Good morning, Reverend Smith. How are you today?
Great.
And we will have also on my left our very own Pastor Alton McKinley. Pastor, how are you this morning?
I am good this morning, Reverend Edison. How about yourself this morning?
I'm doing good. You said you got a lead you want to come in with?
Well, I just kind of want to put a plug of what our podcast will be about this morning. Usually by Tuesday or Wednesday, I sit down with Amber and we go over topics and we lay out what we're going to kind of discuss for that upcoming episode. It's amazing. We didn't wait till Tuesday or Wednesday. We went right in on Sunday morning because of what's going on in our society, and it was really trying to keep that level head with what was going on and what we've experienced from just our past history, from what the last week with the young adults and the confession of the young adults, and then into that sermon for our graduates. We went right into conversation about this week's topic. And it's amazing. We started talking on Sunday, and we talked on Tuesday, and as the week kept going on, it just kept compiling bigger and bigger. And so this week episode, I kind of want you guys to kind of just really, I know this is Church for Real, but I want y'all to kind of lay down and just like, don't hold back on emotions and standpoints as we talk about our topics. I know you're going to hit on something this morning leading into our icebreaker, but I just kind of want our listeners to know is that as we get into our topic and the idea of stand in, stand out, and step up, it's imperative that we as a people, not as just blacks, whites, Hispanic, but we as a people stand in, stand out, and step up. Too often we put the onus on one or the other, but it's going to take a collective move by people to do this. And so as we get into this topic's going to be heavy. It's going to be kind of, hopefully, as some people say, controversial.
Well, that's what we do.
But that's what we do. We don't run away from topics. And so,
right.
So I kind of want to lead into that this is why this topic was such. It's been 7 days and kind of been stewing over this for a while. And so I want you guys to kind of just jump in, as you say, Smith. Stand up in the pool. All right, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ed. This topic that we have this morning, the stand in, stand out, and step up, I am sure that it affects the three of us more than it does other people, just because of our race, and what we're going through. But I've been toiling with something for some time, especially since this pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic came into play, and I've been wrestling with it. And until I saw this topic, did I really understand what I was going through? Okay, this is kind of what I was fighting, Reverend Smith. Okay, should I stay at home and protect myself from an invisible virus while a visible virus is consistently killing me? Now, whether that visible virus is breaking into my front door, shooting me, or tipping around my house, around the side of my house, shooting me through my window, or breaking in. I mean, this is not the first time that somebody have walked into a black man's house and killed him, or walked into a black man's house and did all kinds of things to him. Or should I go out and fight for a virus that I can see when an invisible virus is threatening my life? So, what do we do? How do we handle that? Because it's like if we stay home, we're being killed from all directions. If we go out, we're being killed from all directions. How do we, as black men, handle the situation that's facing us right here, right now? What do you think, Rick?
Doc, that's a deep subject, and really for me, I'm sort of numb.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes me numb is that we've been here before.
Yeah.
Whether it's racism, it didn't go away. And with our ages, I think we saw it more prevalent than most people did, now. And so it makes me kind of numb because it's I can't say the word, but my grandfather used to say, you almost messed up if you do.
Yeah.
You almost
Yeah.
mess up if you don't. But I think that the stand up part is something that we have to have. If you don't feel comfortable with getting out, around people and wearing masks and stuff, you don't necessarily have to be in the march to support that. There are other things that you can do, giving of your money. The main thing that I think that you can do is vote. Once we start getting some of these people out of here, so yeah, get some of these people out of here, and then holding our city officials to a level that they need to be held to. I don't think that it's going. This is the problem. Back when we were coming up, we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
Now everybody a paparazzi.
Yeah.
You can't hide it. So if it's that visible now, it was worse back then. And so they organized, they got together and stuff, and I think that's something we got to do. We got to stand up, and I think we got to start holding some of the city officials accountable for some of the things. And now this is what's really tripping everybody out. It's everybody. It's whites, it's blacks, it's Hispanics, it's everybody that are binding together, which, they did. If it wasn't for some people back then, we wouldn't have did it. But everybody's banging it together because this is a different dispensation than it was back in the 60s.
But the part that gets me, Pastor, is I'm dealing with the same issue that my great-grandfather had.
Well, and this is not, now, you hit it. The difference is this, and this is what this week-long thought going in through this with and having a conversation is amazing. My conversation with Amber this week was what I've been through and what she's been through. And so we were talking about this, and she was hype about what's going on. The young generation is hyper than we were about what's going on, and they have less of what we've been through. And so that made me feel a whole lot better. But what we're dealing with now is we had a low between when we look at what happened in the 60s and then from the 60s to 2020. Just think about that stand. We had less of demonstration, less of what going on. When a problem was happening in the 60s, you saw them marching and all that. And so what we saw was for that 50-year period, that 60-year period, it was a lull because we started to make some advances. And the eyes, when people start seeing things, they start seeing it, and now they think, in just our society, we'll paint a picture that everybody's living the Cosby life. Everybody's George Jefferson. Everybody, no, because you said something. The virus that can attack people with the pandemic is an invisible virus because you can be asymptomatic.
Yeah.
You can have all the issues and not know you're affecting other people.
Right.
It's called a silent killer. So because we've been silent, blacks, white, and all of them have been asymptomatic.
Yeah.
And because we've been asymptomatic, we have been perpetuating a virus in our society because have you ever did this before? Saw racism, but you didn't want to say anything. When you walk to a store and people eyed you down and look at you crazy because you black man walking into a store, you just left the store and said, I'm not going to say anything. Instead of going and says, why are you looking at me like that? You think I'm in the store? Have a conversation with the person because that person may not know that they really being a racist.
Well, that's good. I always do that. I always do that. It's a way to do it where you're not offensive.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can start up a whole big brawl over that and stuff. So I agree.
But this actually happened to me yesterday.
And see, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
What you just said.
What happened to you yesterday?
Man, I was at Home Depot and they was following me.
Ooh, what did you have on?
Make sure you wear that no more. I ain't wearing. Look at when he
Were
wearing that.
you
Whatever you had on, whatever you had on, we're not wearing what you had on. No, but because this what we have done. This why we are asystematic. Because we then stop and have the conversation, because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because they might truly be a racist, and if they say the wrong thing, you know, as much as I fight that twin might come out for a few seconds. But because of that we have allowed that to continue, and because we haven't had that conversation, because, you know, lack of a better word, we all got comfortable with it. We see it, we got comfortable with it. You can't tell me we haven't got comfortable with it when this guy puts his neck on somebody's throat and stays there while usually when the camera comes on,
With the camera on.
we try to change and
Yeah.
fake
Yeah.
like we fake like it. This
Yeah.
dude did
Yeah.
not look at his face. He was just like non-concerned. As people, not one paparazzi that you said, Smith. Several people are filming him and asking him, "Man, this dude is dying. This dude," and he was like,
Right.
Yeah.
we have become so comfortable, and this is why the conversation have to happen. You realize, and me and Amber was talking about this week, there were more folk mad about a brick being thrown through a glass window than a guy dying.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They were hotter than when the guy died. Oh well, and then this.
Because it's starting to become commonplace for black men to get killed by police. You know, Will Smith said something that blew my mind. He tweeted it in some kind of way. I got my hands on it, but he said, "Nothing has changed. It's just being recorded."
Yeah, all this stuff has been going on for a while. George Floyd is not the first African American
Oh, no.
to die in the hands of police
Oh,
this
no.
year. Well, no,
This year.
This year.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
year.
Right.
He ain't the first one to die this year. And then we look at it as a tipping point. Why? Because the visual of a knee on a knee, and 4 years ago, when a black man was on his knees as just a simple protest,
Wow.
we didn't hear the word. And now we see a knee in a black man's neck. And now 4 years later, we have NFL saying, "Oh, we were wrong." Well, you were wrong 4 years ago.
Yeah, you were.
Right.
Yeah, you were.
Right.
You were wrong.
But
You just as
this
wrong.
what I was gonna go with it. I'm saying what I have noticed is that 4 years ago you didn't have corporations coming out supporting blacks. You had corporations telling NFL, "You better get those boys off their knees." And I say that to the extent, and that's the conversation that one of them had, which that irritates when I hear you call a grown man a boy. But that's just my cultural background. That irritates me. My wife said, "Let it go." But that said, and so corporations, major corporations, saying, "No, you got now." Everybody, black out their Facebooks and blacked out their Twitter and blacked out all those things. Matter of fact, I was on something. They kept blacking. I kept thinking, what was going on? Oh, this is the blackout. They're doing this because we stand.
Right.
Now they stand with us. Why do they stand with us now? Because it's an outcry of more than just. If black people were only ones speaking now,
Would nothing be
would
done.
never be done.
Right.
But you know,
In
you
the
know something?
'60s, it took white people stepping up with us.
Always.
And
Always.
so that's why we got to have the conversation. Go
You know
ahead.
what gets me is you would think with all of the protests, even with all of the loot, that there would be a difference or there would be a change in the operations of the police.
But
Do you know how many police have been fired since George Floyd got killed? 10.
Well, I know in Louisville, the guy says the body cam. I think it was Louisville, somewhere, Tennessee, Kentucky, somewhere. He said his body cam was messing up. He said, "No, you fired."
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, whether you turn it off or it was defect, you never mentioned it, but something happened. You had your body cam off. The mayor said you are fired. So we're starting to see some, until that becomes the norm
Yeah. Yeah.
across all of it, then we
10 police have been fired for similar. They didn't kill nobody, but for
Right.
similar. Well, for what is it called?
excessive.
Excessive force.
Yeah.
Excessive force. I know y'all saw the little old white man that they pushed down. Tell me you saw that.
No, I didn't.
You
I
didn't see
did.
the
I did.
75-year-old?
I ain't
Come
see
on,
it.
Pastor. How'd you miss that?
Cause I got man,
I know you get burnt out on it.
overload, man. So much
The
stuff out there.
75-year-old man standing on the sidewalk. Now, he was a white man, but he's standing on the sidewalk, and the police are, I guess, getting ready for to blockade. And they two of them just walk up to him and just shove him, put him up off his feet.
He bust his head open,
Busted
blood
his-
running on the
yeah,
ground.
blood
Yes,
running
sir.
around, and then stepped over him.
And one tried to help him, but then
But
the
the
dude
other one
told the
said, no,
dog.
come on, we got stuff to do.
That's because they're in deals like that. They have emergency people that's like in those lines, and so they want them to keep. I'm just telling you the process.
Okay.
I'm just telling you the process, because you know that's an area of mine. So that's what they're gonna say. If I wasn't in church, I'd bet on bet on that. They say, well, we left him because emergency people are in there, and you're supposed to go on and let them get him. My thought on the whole thing is, y'all, sometimes change is uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
always change is uncomfortable.
And the more that you're changing, the more uncomfortable it gets.
Right.
And you have to deal with issues. In order to change, you have to deal with issues on like our deal says, on a for real matter. George Floyd and this man worked together. They actually worked
they
together.
knew each other.
So it wasn't like he did not know him. So there was some kind of deep anger. Because listen, if I know you and we work together, we shouldn't have to, struggle or nothing, man. Especially over a fake $20 bill.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
just say, hey, man, come on, sit over here.
Yeah,
The man said
yeah.
it's fake. If it ain't, boom, go on. I mean, I don't know what charge of crime that is, but he knew him. I don't mind. This is just Reverend Smith. I don't mind people that are racist that don't hate me, especially the ones that wear the mask and all that, because if they're over there, I know that they're over there. They don't mess with me. As long as I ain't gonna mess with them.
Yeah.
They burn whatever they want to, as long as they're not killing people or doing that. What I mind is the underlying overcovering of racism. The people that's wearing the Brooks Brothers suits.
Yeah.
The people that are in Congress.
Yeah.
The people that have businesses that are treating us wrong. The people. So it's always a cover up. And I think it's now time to kind of take the covers off and say, this is what we've been going through for years.
But see, this is what I'm learning, Smith. This is what I'm learning. Because we haven't spoke about it. When I shared a couple of things this week with somebody, and it's gonna open their light up just by going to a restaurant. Because sometimes if they don't know what's going on, they don't see it as an issue. They really just don't see it. But when you bring it to their attention, when you start telling them that, you hear a person say, I never had to tell my son how to act when he sees a cop. I never have this fear that when I pass by a cop, I'm not looking in my back real mirror to see if he turned around. They pass a cop, and they keep on going. But we as black in a certain neighborhood, we have to kind of look in the river. When I share that story, it was like, why you have to do that? Because I'm a suspect because I'm black.
Yeah, just because.
I'm a suspect because I'm a black and I'm not riding a beat down car. I'm a
yeah.
suspect because
Of the neighborhood.
of the
you in.
neighborhood that I'm in. I'm a suspect because, not because I'm dressed a certain way, just because I'm black in America.
Yeah,
When we start sharing that, it's just not something we made up.
you're right.
It's constantly
When we say that Floyd was not the first African American to die, he's not the first one to die in the hands of police during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, no.
And so the only thing has to happen is that when America stops and looks at it, and this is why Sister Young said, she says in the 60s, there was an economic issue, and so therefore companies came online and says, look here, the black people bringing in money, and so together economically we move forward. That's why a lot of that stuff started to happen. That's why I think we're at a point now where we cannot sit down and just not say anything.
We hit them in the pocketbook That's what the Rosa Parks thing was all about.
Yeah, hitting them in the
When
pocket.
black people stopped riding the bus,
buses? Yeah.
that transit system shut down because that's who was,
It
that's who was
actually
doubles.
Yeah.
It shut down who was doing it.
And watch this. What happened was the blacks and whites.
They got together.
See, we forget that change came because we stood together and says we as a people will not take this anymore. And economically, when we do that, man, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, all these people started to say we stand. You remember, NFL when the first one came out with it.
No,
NBA stepped out first. They was first. I keep hitting that because once all these companies start stepping up, Coca-Cola stepped up. Michael Jordan says we're gonna give $100 million over the next 10 years for this. People start stepping up with their money. NFL, hurry up.
We were wrong. We were
look at.
We were wrong.
We saw the light.
We wouldn't have it if it wasn't for you guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't for you guys. Yeah, it's true.
And so this is so imperative that we have the conversation, but we have it from the standpoint, Paul says this, I run this race not as if I'm beating the air, but there is a purpose to me running this race. And so that's why we have to, yes, we are angry. Yes, we are upset. Yes, we are tired of this. Yes, we were built for this. But now, how do we move this to the next level? And it takes us sitting down and to be honest, the blacks and white, I know we have Hispanics, Asian, all those in there, but the blacks and white have to have a true conversation about what racism is. Yeah. Racism is just hanging people from a lynch, lynching people. It ain't just police brutalities. It's how you view me as a man or a woman.
Yes.
So when we move forward, the conversation is that, well, when I walk in a store, I don't want to be, because look here, there are more white shoplifters in America than there is black shoplifters in America.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to call, but while your eyes on the black man, that white lady that hook you up and
they actually had a show where they did that, and they did like 5 or 6 scenes, and they walked in. The black couple was looking at some stuff, and they were so busy looking at them. They had another mole who was a white lady, and she was loading up. I'm talking about she was like loading the purse up, and she was loading up everything, and she was giving her husband stuff, and they was loading up stuff. And then they went to them and said, "Can we help you?"
And that's what.
And the lady left out of the store, and then they brought them back and said, "Now you were looking at them,
they ain't done it.
But let me show you what she got." And they pulled it out. And they did it like 4 or 5 times, and every time they did it. Yeah. They did the same thing. They just looked at them and went there and stuff. So
this is the fact. Why I say this? Why I say it's a bigger problem. I'm gonna use McDonald's as a case. McDonald's shows commercials at the peak time where kids are looking at TV.
Right.
What the kids see on TV is what they always want. They recognize the McDonald's. They can't read a book because they see those yellow arches and they know they got chicken nuggets, apples, and
French fries.
Watch this. Because we have shown blacks in this light on TV for so long, is a response to what they see on TV. And I'm telling you, I've learned 50% of the time that white person who's looking at us walking through the store has no idea that's what they're doing. But because they have been trained so much in our society that it's the blacks that cause most of the issues, and it's not us, that you got to call them on and say, look here, lady, I know you have a stereotype for me, but I can buy anything in this store I want to. I'm a well-educated black man. I am a da-da-da-da. Yeah. And you've paid so much attention to me. Did you see that guy there stealing tires over there? Did you see this? No, you were so focused on what your mind has perceived, and they'll be like, that's not what I was doing. I said, I'm helping you to change your mindset that the next black person coming here, you ain't got to eye them down.
You know, Pastor, a prime example of just how bad that conversation that you were talking about needs to take place. Now, this Drew Brees, I personally do not believe that Drew Brees is prejudiced in any state, but his lack of understanding made him make that statement. And then it was explained to him, and then he felt the need to. He didn't even realize how far out there he was because he just didn't understand. Because he never had to tell his son, how to act. He never had to look over his shoulder. He never had to look in his rearview mirror. He never got watched in the store. He just do not so that's how important it is for the blacks and the whites to have this conversation, because I don't think it's so much as racism as lack of knowledge.
Yeah, and on that part, because it's such a hard story for us to tell, Smith, we don't openly share that story.
Exactly.
Because it's hurtful. We don't just go and say, hey, this is my story. We kind of back away from it.
But because we quickly forget when we start acquiring things and we start moving up in life and we start doing that, we quickly forget about it and we don't put any emphasis on it. Like for me, when my son, we grew up in a neighborhood where most of his friends were white. They was over the house all the time. You could talk to their parents. We was all at basketball games, and we did so stuff. And I got so comfortable with it until we go to the pool together and we do all that together, and we just got comfortable with it, and we never thought about that this is really going on. And when you get comfortable in something, that's when you make a big mistake. And I think a lot of people, now that we have better jobs, now that we're driving the Mercedes and the Cadillacs and we're doing those things, we forget about what had went on and also the people who brought us here. And most time I have a hard time doing stuff is doing Black History Month. A whole bunch of people want to participate. And then if you start naming people, they don't really know a lot of people. They know Martin Luther the King. They know they know that. They might know Rosa Parks. I mean, they might know a few of them.
George Washington Carver.
But when you forget your history, you're almost certain to repeat it.
And because we have allowed that to happen, white people, and I'm not doing this as a blanket, they see it as, well, you're comfortable because you're not talking about it. You're good. You don't even push the fact that we don't do Black history in schools anymore. We don't do those things. So yeah, kumbaya, we have made it. But in saying that, racism still exists.
Yeah.
And it still exists. And the Bible tells us that, I think it's in Psalms 89, I think it is, tells us that we got to continue to fight for those who are oppressed.
Yeah.
As we have arrived, and I have not arrived. I'm better than my parents were. I'm better than my grandparents were. The point to say I have arrived because I still deal with systematic racism, even in the workplace, within the government.
Oh yeah.
And so
it ain't going away.
Yeah.
I spoke about this. I spoke my sermon last week, and I was really battering last week to encourage our graduates, as well as make it known that the struggle is not over. You're gonna still have. But in that saying so, we all three are responsible for making space for those who come behind us.
And I think, a lot of people look at it and say it's the white people need to make a change, but I disagree with that. I think we are as much fault as they are. Yes. Because like you were saying, Reverend Smith, we get complacent because it's not right there in our faces that we have the tendency to think that it's gone. And then when you see a George Floyd, then all of these emotions that have been in us all the time come pouring out, then we run to the streets with our signs. But we don't invest in our people. First thing, what'd you do, Rev? First thing you did when you got some money, got a little bit of education, what'd you do? Move out the black neighborhood. Move to a neighborhood that we blame it on crime. We blame it on crime. Come on, let's just be honest, Red.
Well, I stayed in the white neighborhood.
Okay, so you started off.
What was I gonna move to?
Okay,
move back into the black.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Back into the black neighborhood.
Would you move to South Dallas right now?
No.
I wouldn't.
But hold on. But there are some places in South Dallas that are pretty good. But that's not an area that I would have.
Choose.
I would want to, choose.
Because of the school system, because of, it's not just.
It's a combination of things.
Right, it's a combination of things. But if we had invested in those places because I grew up all black neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody took care of everybody. There was no such thing as breaking in. There was no such thing as stealing because we didn't even have locks on our doors.
Yeah, that was back way,
Well,
way.
come on now, we ain't
way,
that far back.
way.
But
That
what
was
I'm
way
saying
back
is,
then.
we invested in each other at one time, and the more financial stable we got, the better jobs we begin, the more educated we got, we begin to invest less in ourselves and in our race. And so that's why I say it is as much our fault as it is anybody's.
Well, I look at it this way, and we'll get into this after the break. We'll get more spiritual from church
Right.
after the break. But when you think about this, if you have two sides of an island, the best way to build a bridge is for us to work from both sides of the bridges.
Right.
So I can't expect the right side to build a bridge all the way to me if I need to get to the other side.
You got to meet them
So
halfway.
I got to be able to build my bridge. So
Yeah.
again, the blacks and white got to continue to have the conversation. Let them know how we feel and let them see how we feel.
Okay, all right. Whew.
What's wrong?
I knew it was gonna be a hot topic this morning. I knew it was because, we got a lot of emotions that's been building up, and this just didn't start since George Floyd got, I've heard each one of us say that, certain movies you can't watch because it affects you too much, So we're all, we all got a lot to work on. But right now we're gonna take a break. We're gonna do our thing, and we'll be back in 2. All right, welcome back to Church for Real with the Rowlett Friendship Baptist Church podcast. We've had a very interesting conversation this morning. We got a chance to vent a little bit some of the things that we've been watching on TV. I know you've been talking back to the TV, Rev, me too. But we actually got a chance to vent a little bit this morning. But I'm gonna start us back up on the second half with there has to be something in the Bible that covers this pandemic that we're going through, this racial pandemic, this virus pandemic. So is there a book or a story in the Bible that covers this?
Y'all want me?
Yeah, you can start.
When I was thinking about this and we put this topic together, I was thinking about Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Ephesians, the 4th chapter.
Okay.
The church at Ephesus was dealing with some stuff internally.
Come on.
And a struggle internally. America is dealing with some stuff internally and the struggles. And he tells them several times now, we got to put off our old stuff. Sometimes it's hard to take off some stuff that we got comfortable with. Racism is just comfortability. Whites and blacks have looked at our society and says, oh, well, this is what it's going to be about. We're going to keep moving forward. We each said that we each struggle with that parts of the conversation and uncomfortable and having those things. And so Ephesians tells us we was once in the dark, now we're in the light. And so, not to take up the whole section with myself, but Ephesians, the 4th chapter, to me, speaks volumes of where we are and where we need to be when it comes to, and this is Jason Collins and I had a conversation. This is our sin. Racism is, we talk about sin. We talk about a world that's caught up into sin. And unless we come back to God in the midst of everything that we are doing, and the letter to the church of Ephesus speaks volumes about letting go some past stuff. So me, I look at Ephesians in the 4th chapter as my go-to. And even today as I'm preparing my sermon, I kind of hit on some stuff from there.
Okay,
Well,
what you got, Rev?
When I looked at the Bible, I saw some comparisons of some things that are really going on right now. One of the things that I thought of and I came with was the children of Israel. At first, they were all right, but all of a sudden, the Bible says there was a king that did not know them and did not know their God.
Right.
And what ended up happening, because they were multiplying so fast, because they were growing so fast, what he did is he says, we got to do something with these people or else they're going to overtake us. And what he did was he put them in slavery and he put them in bondage, much like what we're doing, because a lot of people are afraid of us because they don't know us. They've never take time to do that. And so that you don't know, you try to keep away. That you don't know, it's easy to try to enslave those. And so that was one of the stories that I thought in the Bible kind of pulled it together, because they were just enslaved because they were growing.
Yeah.
That was it. So, that was one of the stories that came to mind. And then the other one is Esther and Hyman. He had just got through eating with Esther and the king, and he walked out, and at the gate, he saw Mordecai. And because Mordecai didn't stand up, he felt like Mordecai disrespected him. Hence, this is where all of the stuff from trying to kill him came from, for building the, hey, he thought he disrespected him, so he was full of pride. He had no self-control. And that's what's happening with a lot of people. They feel like y'all got everything. I had a person that worked with me said, man, why do y'all do the Negro, black, raise money for those things and stuff? He said, I don't see nobody. He said, look at you, man. You're over me. You're not. You ain't hurting for nothing, so why should we give y'all money? They don't understand.
They don't understand. That's what I was talking about a while ago. They just flat don't understand.
They don't understand. He was like, well, racism didn't stop you from doing anything and stuff, or else you wouldn't be the supervisor. I said, well, what do you want to be the supervisor? But you ain't paid the ain't paid the price. They just don't understand.
They said it a lot, too.
Right. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about that statement that Drew Brees made. He just don't understand. I was thinking about Moses and his experience in Egypt on how Pharaoh, I know that's what you're talking about, how Pharaoh felt threatened, so he put him into bondage, and that lasted for 400 years. But I was thinking on the backside, how they got out. Okay, it had to come from the spiritual side. That's the only thing that's gonna work for us. We gotta go back to God, and we got to be able to follow God's specific instructions. I'm not talking to the black people now. I'm talking to people. We have to follow God's explicit instructions if we want to ever get past this, because racism is never going to be stopped taught. That's for blacks and whites. We all teach it, whether we know it or not. But if we want to, the question is, how do we get past this? How do we go forward? What story in the Bible gives us a base to work from, so that we can move forward, so that we can look back on this and call this racism, call this pandemic, call all these viruses that we're having past? Is we got to get back to the only thing that has any value. And that's the Word of God.
There you go.
Yeah, you go.
That is the Word. That is the only thing, because we value, some of us put value in our homes, in our kids, in our family, in our jobs. We carry all this weight. We feel like if now that we got that job that we making over 6 figures, that we got the world conquered. But all it takes is a bad cold nowadays. And not only is the job gone, the house, the home.
Bad cold, bad virus.
That's all the cold is a virus.
I'm saying now a lot of people, what is it? the third of Americans I can't remember the number. I don't want to quote it, but man, so many people filed for unemployment over the last quarter. So it's like, man, it's just
It don't take much.
just a sneeze.
Yeah,
Just
from a sneeze. It don't take much for us to lose everything that we have. And I think, I know, I'm not going to say God made this happen. I'm not even going to say he allowed this to happen. I'm just going to say it happened, but it's going to take God to come out of it.
Well, he allowed it to happen.
I was just going to say,
He allowed it to happen.
Nothing get past God.
But he will turn us over to our own reprobate mind.
And you just said it. You just said it. The basis of all this, and I said this earlier, and you guys saw this in Psalms 82. He says this specifically: defend the weak and the fruit of fatherless, uphold the cause of poor and the oppressed, rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked. We are challenged as people, and this is why I thought. I mean, think about this for a second. In Chinese, there's only Chinamen, but they have socialism, which based upon where you are, you're discriminated against. In some places, they only have, there's not a black and white issue, there's an oppression issue.
Yeah.
So throughout the world, there's some type of oppression that's going on. Unless we get back to God in the midst of who he is, we can't do it.
Wow.
And so that's what you was, I mean, you hit it when you were saying that it gets back to, if we don't get back to God, none of this works.
None of this works. None of this is going to work.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, real.
Well, I mean, I think one of the scriptures that come to mind is Isaiah 1:17.
Yeah.
Because it tells us to learn to do good. It tells us to seek justice, correct oppression. I mean, it's a basic outline for who God is, And so I think that, there are a whole lot of scriptures that fit this because it's just not one-sided. I mean, everywhere, even with the prison system, even with all of the stuff, that's going on now, I think we have to approach it from a holistic standpoint of view, because if we don't, then I think we're just kind of spinning our wheels. Again, I go back to, it's you can get angry about it, but until you start to do something about it, it'll remain the same. And like in the 60s, hit them in the pocketbook, we need to hit them in the voting booth. Because, again, if you don't get some of these people out, nothing would never change.
And that's again, that's why it angers me when people get mad and say, well, the peaceful protest is 90% of it. The other 10% of the looting, you're so focused on that. I'm not, you know what? I don't even get mad at the looting, because I can't get mad at the guy for looting and overlook the reason why he is looting. Yeah. Because the outcome, the result of Floyd dying with a knee in his back, that's just the sneeze. The virus itself is racism.
Yeah.
And all that built up, that you have people in position that feel comfortable doing those things, because as a society, we haven't called them out. So I'm so thankful to hear the chiefs of police and the mayors and all these people stuff and says that we would not allow this to happen anymore. But realize it took us seeing, for COVID-19 to be taken serious in our society, we had to see people die in America before we start taking the thing. So the death wasn't the cause. It was just the effect of it. So now we got to fix the cause. And the cause is we got to be economically studious in what we're doing, politically sound in what we're doing. You just can't vote, because I hate this two-party system, Democrats and Republicans, because people would just go Republican just because they're Republican. They don't believe in the values of that person they're voting for.
Right,
it's just because that's my choice is Republican, Democrat. I'm gonna vote Republican.
I'm a Democrat.
And that's why I would tell people, vote. I mean, I vote my conscience. I have voted for both Democrats, Republicans, and Independents.
I've done both too.
I vote for my conscience. Who? Not the idea. I heard people say, "Well, I'm gonna vote directly for Democrats." All of them. Look here. There are some redneck Democrats. There's some redneck Republicans. There are some hotheads African American Democrats and high-head Republicans. So we just got to be able to vote our conscience.
Well, let me ask this question. Let me ask, well, since you were talking about the people that's doing that, do any of y'all believe that while they're doing these protests, that there are certain people who insert people into
Yes, I do believe that.
Yes.
into
Yes, I do believe
just
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
my
to
goodness.
start
They have
the riot
Yeah.
to disprove
Yeah.
what was going on.
what was going
Oh,
on at
yeah.
first.
You said it earlier. There are paparazzi everywhere. They have caught so many people red-handedly trying to give people bricks that were not. Matter of fact, it was downtown and the guy says, I was just at the court last week. Those bricks wasn't there. So all of a sudden,
They're delivering the bricks.
all of a sudden now it's bricks where there was no more bricks there.
yeah.
Now I didn't go downtown. I can't. All I know, dude said I was at the courthouse on Monday. There was no bricks by the courthouse on Monday.
courthouse.
Where
Now, all
it
of
came
a
from? I
sudden,
don't- where did it come
on
from?
Wednesday, there's a stack of bricks.
Yeah.
just calling my name, Mister. They've had people in full mask, all that,
Oh, yeah.
spray painting stuff on wall, and find out they were of the white persuasion.
Right.
And so I'll go with Robinson. Robinson says the media that has portrayed us, I'm talking about newscasters, has always portrayed us in a different light. Not till recently that we start trying to have the good stories about what happens in the black community. But most of the time, you're seeing a criminal element in our society. And that just didn't start now. I love history, both good and bad. Coming out of slavery, to slant things against the African American, they made us to be out rapists and thugs and all of that. Out of slavery, that portrayed even more so in the 20s and in the 30s with these little commercials that says that all black man want to do is take your white women. I'm sorry if it's too graphic for y'all on TV land.
That's what was out there.
They
We
portrayed
didn't put
it
out there.
that was on TV. That's
Yeah.
what they saw.
Yeah.
So embedded in them it says that all black men all they want is your white women and they thugs and they rapists, killers and all that time. While at the same time I keep saying there were more white rapists in the 20s than was blacks. But the newscast and this is what Robinson was saying is that
Diversion, Pastor. It's a diversion.
it makes us look like, and this is all black people on welfare and all that. Do you know in America there's more?
More whites.
I'm gonna say this. I just
It's
want to have
facts.
the
It's facts.
numbers out there.
It's facts.
There's more white America on welfare than there is black. So when you start saying get those black people off of welfare, yeah, if you do that, more of your people will come off of it too.
Yeah.
So the news and those who are in power have twisted the story so much so that it's as if we are the only one getting handouts and hand up and say, why haven't y'all made it? Because the white man still has their thumb on some people.
The knee on their neck. The knee on the neck.
This is the conversation that we when we start to have it, it's very uncomfortable for us and the public to say because well, you guys got all this stuff and all that stuff. We don't. We needed affirmative action just to get to school. I'm sorry.
That's facts. That's fact. But it's called diversion, Pastor. They that's what happened to Colin Kaepernick. His whole point got misconstrued, and then the NFL left him out to dry, simply because they followed the lead of one person. And the same thing is happening now with George Floyd. They're delivering bricks. They already know that emotions are high, so it's easy to promote when your emotions are high.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm gonna say this. If you notice, they try to paint Floyd as well. He ain't no saint. He spent time in jail. He did all this. That I don't care what he did in his past. His end was not justified.
No, it wasn't.
I don't care. Well, y'all holding him up for a martyr. I'm holding him up for a martyr not because he lived a perfect life, because guess what? None of us in America live perfect.
Yeah, not one.
Not one of us is perfect.
One.
I don't care what your
not
skin
one.
color is. I don't care what your denomination. This is my name. You ain't perfect.
No, and ain't
So
gonna ever be.
I'm not holding him up as this saint. We're gonna sanctify. We're gonna make him a saint. No, his life was taken in a manner that should not. It is a disgrace to anybody who called himself a human.
Yeah, and I'm
So
still
from
not
that
going to
standpoint-
uphold how he got killed.
Yeah, that piece will forever. No man life should be taken over a thought of a false $20 bill. And I want y'all to do this. I want everybody in America who hear my voice, go look at the 911 tape.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at it. Go read it. The guy who was doing it couldn't even. The 911 operator said, "What color was it?" I don't know what she was. Hey, who was? Go read the transcript. Go read the transcript. I was hot as fish grease on Wednesday when I went to transcript because it didn't make no sense for the cops to come in that force for this knucklehead. And I'm sorry, that's God's child. For that person to have that transcript, this guy couldn't tell you if he was tall, white, black, or orange. The woman kept saying, "What was he? She was, or he was. Was he a she?" The transcript. Yeah. And he finally said, "Oh, he was a." Now, if he gave you something, you call him, you're going to know what color he is, what size. Well, he seemed like he was drunk. Well, at no time did it seem like he was stumbling, bumbling, was he drunk. No. So they got a call in and rushed to this guy and took his life based upon
a $20
a person who.
A bad $20 bill.
The person who was talking on the 911 seemed like he was on drugs.
What?
That's just my thought. That's just. Look at that.
He might have. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. But that I don't even know what. Have you been in that situation before? Have you ever got a fake bill and you didn't know it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you ask anybody over here, you've had. When I went to the store one time and I had came from like a Walmart or something like that, and I got some cash back, and I went in the store. The lady swiped it. It turned brown. She said, "This ain't good." Yeah. And stuff. So that's something that I don't even know what the penalty for that is. What is the penalty? I'm lost.
Well, they have
lost $20.
What is that?
Well, now the penalty is they have to prove that you purposely knew that was a fake dollar bill. Because money changes so much in America now that's why they do that. That's how counterfeit. That's how That's why we've changed our dollar bills and 20 so much so because there's so much counterfeit money out there.
I've never heard of somebody going to jail over a.
No, I've never heard nobody going to jail.
I've never heard nobody going to jail. I never heard the police being called for something like that.
I got some dollar bills before, and I got a $5 bill. I say, man, this don't even feel real.
Mm-hmm.
Look here, that could have been a real $5 bill and just was worn out. You know what I did with that $5 bill? No, I did.
If it don't feel right.
No, I did with it.
What?
Trash. Ain't no way I'm gonna take that $5 bill and go down.
$5.
You ain't taking and spend it.
Spill.
You Pastor, hold on now. This church for real. You balled up a $5 bill.
Threw it away.
That wasn't your fault to get it, and you threw it away and say the buck stops here. I'm Pastor. Look at Pastor.
That about 10 years ago.
If they gave it to me, I'm gonna spit. Thank you, Jesus.
Look, Smith.
I'm looking for somebody else to give it to.
No, this is what I thought. This was probably 12 years, about 10, 12 years ago. I had just came from Amarillo. I think I had just got to be the CFO at Dallas VA Hospital, my so-called dream job. I had just got that job, and I'm thinking, I'm on top of the world. I'm at the CFO. I'm at Mesquite Friendship. I'm the associate pastor that got stuff going on. I got all this. All it takes now for me to go down here, this African American man go to jail over $5. And then they say, "Ooh, the CFO from VA Hospital then passed a counterfeit $5. Ooh, the social pastor at Mesquite Friendship."
That's gonna be the only time you ever get all your accolades.
Look at it. Here's a social pastor. Man, they got 1,500 people over there. Man, he over $1 billion budget, and I knew something was wrong with him.
But Pastor, if you had
Smith,
if you had
it was $5 that did not feel good in my hand.
Wait a minute. If you hadn't have been there, all of that to see
if I was back in Shreveport, Louisiana, look at the crib.
That $5 bill away.
When I was a nobody, McDonald's would have got that $5, baby. Got that $5.
I would have said a prayer, Lord, help me get this $5.
Let me get rid of this $5.
No, look here.
I'd have mixed it up in some other bills.
I wouldn't give it to the church. I wouldn't give it back to the VA.
went to South Dallas.
No, y'all not finna find me on the camera and say, look, the CFO of VA, The pastor, no, partner, no, that's okay. That $5 wasn't worth it.
Well, listen,
no,
y'all pray for me.
No,
Because I done got some of them. And I tried to hurry up and get rid of my. Forgive me, I sinned. But pray for me. Because if I got a 10 or a 5, now $1, you don't see too many fake dollars. But if it's a $20 bill,
faking the dollar.
That $5 bill could have been washing machine and all that. It just didn't. No,
it didn't sit good with you. I'm just saying, pray for me.
It was in the trash.
I thought. Pray for me. We all have sinned and come shout.
It wasn't about that I'm perfect. It's not that I'm holy and whatever. I just said, look here. I just bought this house in Mesquite. I just got this car. I just.
You counted out the cost.
But Pastor, I have had both situations. The situation where I had the bill and it was obvious that it wasn't right and threw it away. And I've also had that bill. This is for real, right? I've had that bill and I looked at it and they were like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to let somebody else have this one. And mix it in with some more money. I have deposited in the bank.
So you schizophrenic about it.
I'm schizophrenic about it.
Sometimes you might do it.
No, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. I have done it both ways. There has been situations where I knew.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, y'all. That kind of got me there.
No. I'm gonna say this. That $5 is in the trash somewhere. I didn't even shred. I just bottled it up. So maybe somebody went to the trash and they've been blessed with the $5. But I hope it's a blessing for them that they don't get caught up with it. But this is said. Seriously, as we go through this, Micah 6:8 says, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy. As we think about who God has called us to be.
Yes.
In the midst, and again, my $5 episode, what wasn't because I was so holy. I was afraid of losing what I had.
Right. Okay, let's
I was afraid of losing what I had, and sometimes in America, we don't push the envelope because we're afraid of what we're going to lose.
Yeah.
Today, June the 7th, 2020, we can no longer be afraid to lose what we have, because if we keep doing what we're doing, people will lose their life behind us trying to save what we have.
Okay. Let's take these last few minutes and each one of us just take a little bit of time, and as a church, we already done discussed all what's going on, the pandemic, the epidemics, everything. What, as a church, do we do to stand out front to lead us out of this?
I'm gonna say check in about an hour.
30 minutes.
I'm gonna get up and preach by 10:30, so people, 30 minutes.
30 minutes. What do you think, Red?
I'm putting the pin on that one.
What do you think, Red?
I say check in about an hour. I'm gonna play.
Oh wow!
I'm playing. But listen, y'all. I think as
you got jokes down there. Both y'all got jokes.
I think because we get ready to do the words.
Right.
My thing about it is that I think that we have to again stand up, and the next thing is that we have to encourage people to vote. To make change, because if they're not voting, they're just marching for nothing, and hold some of the people in leadership accountable. I think that we are like what we do when we do the pantry, where we're feeding those people and being there for those people who don't have, who's been affected by the virus and who's been affected by all of the other things that's going on. I think we are supposed to be there. That's what the church is called to do.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing. And if all of the churches would get together, the problem is that a lot of churches are divided. We're not. Sunday is not a unified time. It's one of the most segregated times of the week. But if we are the church, we have to actually address this, and then we have to educate people on it. We have to encourage people to vote. And then next thing, stand up and be there to support them. If not, we're not doing what God called us to do.
Yeah, I agree that voting is definitely, we got to start there. Because if we don't get the people in the right places, we're never going to be able to get to push past the ideals that we want. But I think we also need to start in our homes. Because racism is taught.
That's right.
I don't care what you say. Racism is taught. So we got to get back to the Word of God, use God's word as a guide and start over from scratch. Because, once a cop gets to be a grown man, you're just about not going to change him from who he are. So we got to start with our kids on retraining love. Just retrain each other. And as Christians, as church leaders, as people, we have just got to, it's simple. It ain't no grand scheme. Get back to the only thing that carries value, and that is the Word of God. We want to thank y'all for signing in today. We had a few in the audience today. Thank you for coming out. Thank you all. We'll see you back in 30 minutes for our Sunday morning service, and we are out. God bless you. We love you.